Hey y'all, it's Jen and welcome back to my channel, If There's Inklings. Today is a Tuesday, so that means this is another Tag Tuesday. Today I'm going to be doing a tag that was originally created by Adrian over at Strip Cover Lit, and that is the Popcorn Opening Paragraphs tag. Stick around to see what my answers to this tag will be. Hey guys, this is Jen and today is a Tag Tuesday and I will be doing the Popcorn Opening Paragraphs tag that was originally created by the guys over at Strip Cover Lit. I will link the original video down below. I was also tagged by Adrian to do this tag, and so we're going to dive into this. There's not any questions and I have no idea what the popcorn reference is. You'll have to check out his video to get all the context of that because I didn't understand it. I think it must be just a Midwestern thing because down here in the South we certainly didn't use that terminology. Basically it has to do with reading out loud and when you're in school, and I guess the picture I get is like they just bounce around like little popcorn kernels to the different kids in the classroom. We just read aloud in a straight line. It was just one right after the other. And I actually enjoy reading aloud, so we're going to get into this. The premise behind this tag is that you the premise behind this tag is to read at least 3 opening paragraphs from different books that had an impact on you and explain why they impacted you. I have chosen 4 books and all of them really impacted me as a reader because they drew me in. They gave me some kind of reason to keep reading. I'm not a writer, so the writing styles did not affect my writing or anything like that in any way because that's just not who I am. But as a reader, these are all pretty impactful opening paragraphs. I'm gonna start with my favorite novel of all time, and that is The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. I've talked a lot about this book on my channel over the years, so you can find lots of references to this book. And technically I'm going to read the first 2 paragraphs because the first paragraph is just 1 sentence. Imagine a ruin so strange it must never have happened. First, picture the forest. I want you to be its conscience. The eyes in the trees. The trees are columns of slick, brittled bark like muscular animals overgrown beyond all reason. Every space is filled with life. Delicate, poisonous frogs, war-painted like skeletons, clutched in copulation, secreting their precious eggs onto dripping leaves. Vines strangling their own kin in the everlasting wrestle for sunlight. The breathing of monkeys. A glide of snake belly on a branch, a single file army of ants biting a mammoth tree into uniform grains and hauling it down to the dark for their ravenous queen. And, in reply, a choir of seedlings arching their necks out of rotted tree stumps, sucking life out of death. This forest eats itself and lives forever. Now, that opening paragraph is just so vivid. I can picture that, and it makes me think a lot of survival even under the harshest conditions, which ironically is kind of very fitting for this entire book. The next book that I'm going to talk about is the Enchanted Island by Allison Amend. This is one that I just recently read and it was a 5-star read for me and I enjoyed it very much. One of my favorite books of 2018. And again, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to read the first 3 paragraphs because it's kind of the opening statement. You're not allowed to read this. I'm not even allowed to write it. But now that Ainsley is gone, and I will surely follow before too long, I don't see that much is the harm. I suppose the government will censor what it will. A curious effect of childlessness is that your story disappears with you. Of course, everyone's does eventually, but the suddenness with which my history will be extinguished causes me much consternation. I am of the generation who came of age in the new century, though my formative years were spent in the last. I am therefore pulled between the past and the present. That my life will be of interest to readers, I dare not assume, but it is an unusual one, and for that reason alone, records should be made of it. And this was definitely a story that opening paragraph really made me want to continue to read, because I'm like, what does the government have to do with this? And why is her story so unusual? And it was an unusual story, and I really enjoyed it. It's very much a story about people and how you survive in life given the circumstances you're dealt. And I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. This is a young adult novel that really focuses on Lithuania and the Polish in the World War II. They took me in my nightgown. Thinking back, the signs were there. Family photos burned in the fireplace. Mother sewing her best silver and jewelry into the lining of her coat late at night, and Papa not returning from work. My younger brother Jonas was asking questions. I asked questions too, but perhaps I refused to acknowledge the signs. Only later did I realize that Mother and Father intended we escape. We did not escape. So that is a very intriguing opening paragraph. This story is told from the daughter's point of view as a young girl going through the evacuations by the Nazis and being sent to the concentration camps. The next book I'm going to read is going to be from Nevernight by J. Kristoff. And again, this is just a paragraph that made me want to continue to read this story and learn more about it, and really made me fascinated by J. Kristoff's writing style. This is not young adult, but it is a fantasy. It does feature a younger girl, a teenage girl, but it is definitely not young adult. And in true fashion with everything else, I'm going to read the first page because, I mean, I could read the first paragraph of this and be fine, but I think the more you hear of this, the more it just draws you in. And it's not even actually the first paragraph of the first chapter. It is actually a page before Cavat Impetor. I think that's how you say it. But this is what it says. People often shit themselves when they die. Their muscles slack and their souls flutter free, and everything else just slips out. For all their audience's love of death, the playwrights seldom mention it. When our hero breathes his last in his heroine's arms, they call no attention to the stain leaking across his tights, or how the stink makes her eyes water as she leans in for her farewell kiss. I mention this by way of warning, oh my gentle friends, that your narrator shares no such restraint, and if the unpleasant realities of bloodshed turns your insides to water, be advised now that the pages in your hand speak of a girl who was to murder as maestros are to music, who did to happy ever afters what a saw blade does to skin. She's dead herself now. Words both the wicked and the just would give an eye-teeth smile to hear. A republic in ashes behind her, a city of bridges and bones laid at the bottom of the sea by her hand. And yet, I'm sure she'd still find a way to kill me if she knew I put these words to paper. Open me up and leave me for the hungry dark. But I think someone should at least try to separate her from the lies told about her, through her, by her. Someone who knew her true. A girl some called Pale Daughter, or Kingmaker, or Crow, but most often nothing at all. A killer of killers, whose tally of endings only the goddess and I truly know. And was she famous or infamous for it at the end? All this death? I confess I could never see the difference. But then, I've never seen things the way you have. Never truly lived in the world you call your own, nor did she really. I think that is why I loved her. So that's an example of the writing of Jay Kristoff through this entire book and the second book of the series, and I'm sure the third book will be the same, which I can't wait for. But that just draws you right in. I mean, who opens up their book with the line, "People often shit themselves when they die"? Does that not make you want to read this book and find out what the hell is going on here? So for me, that's what really truly impactful opening paragraphs does for me as a reader. It draws me in. It gives me something vivid, something I can picture, and something I want to learn more about and continue with on the story. So we're supposed to popcorn other people. So here is who I popcorn. Monse over at Monse's Manifestos, Amy at Amy Gets Lit. If you're still doing videos, I know Amy had talked about not doing any more booktube videos, but if you are, I would love to hear what opening paragraphs made an impact on you. And Angela over at The Book Nerdist 9, y'all are all tagged in this. I can't wait to see your videos. So that's it. That is my popcorn opening paragraphs tag. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a little bit about the things that I find impactful in opening paragraphs. And if you've enjoyed this video, then you know what to do. Please give me a thumbs up, like this video, subscribe, share, and leave me a comment down below. Until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.